Good evening and welcome to the Lower Frederick Township Board of Supervisors Work Session Agenda for March 25th, 2025. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Everyone is present and accounted for, and our staff is all present and accounted for. Prior to the meeting this evening, we had an executive session to discuss. Peter?
Legal advice?
To discuss legal advice. Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online on the Township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the Township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name and address and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes unless such time is extended for the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. Okay. So on our agenda this evening for business, we have Arcadia Station subdivision, potential closeout, and maintenance period. Peter, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry. I was looking at something else. I didn't realize you were jumping ahead. Okay. This project, as everyone well knows, has been built for quite a long time. And the developer has been slowly moving through a punch list of completing, the outstanding improvements so that it can be moved into the maintenance period. As of right now, the only items remaining on this punch list are some trees. These trees were noticed to be either dead or in a declining condition at the end of fall. They could not be replaced over the winter due to the weather. And obviously, we don't know how they are yet now, but the developer has asked to move forward with closing out the project, the township accepting dedication of the public improvements. In exchange, the developer has agreed to plant the trees this spring and to back that promise up with a posting of some funds in escrow in case they don't. The trees that are planted within a property that's going to be dedicated to the township will be covered by the 18-month maintenance period. The trees that will be planted on property that is owned by the HOA, which is the majority of the land, those trees would be planted with a 90-day guarantee. I've put together a completion agreement that has been provided to the developer. And I believe it's all right except for one issue that the developer can raise. Gia Raffaelli, who is the general counsel for the developer, is here, and I think she wants to speak to a couple of items here.
Can you come up to that? Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm Gia Raffaelli, general counsel for the land developer. Okay, sorry about that. Gia Raffaelli, general counsel for the land developer.
I'm sorry, if you could please speak into the microphone, because we
Sure.
have a recording with people on Zoom who can't
Okay.
hear unless you're, thank you.
Seeking dedication tonight of the public improvements. As Peter indicated, we've been moving through the dedication process for a few years now, and in respect to that, we have come out and replaced trees on different occasions. We came up with a list at the end of last fall, I believe, with the township engineer about the ones, as Peter mentioned, that may need replacement, definitely need replacement. We're going to double check if they need replacement this spring, and we have that list. It's on a map, I think, Carol, that everyone has identified. We're willing to go back out and plant those trees now, as Peter indicated. We could do it as early as the middle of April, if that's a good time for Carol. The ones in the township, we would offer for dedication, be part of our 18-month maintenance bond, if that's what the township wanted. The ones in the HOA, since the HOA owns and maintains the open space now and has been for some time, we would offer that initial 90-day warranty on the tree, but they have an obligation to maintain those trees and the landscaping anyways, and so that wouldn't be part of the public dedication. We did offer initially, and we would offer it again, if the township wants what we would spend on planting the trees in the township open space area, we're happy to give that to the township at their discretion to put the trees wherever they want and however they want and whenever they want, in lieu of us coming and planting them. We could offer the same to the HOA as well. And I offer that only because it seems to make more sense in a lot of instances, because then the township has control. They take, the funds and use them where they want at the time they want them for the trees. But that's just another offer. We would still post the 18-month maintenance on the other township dedicated improvements, which is really that open space area. There's not a lot there.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Jan?
I have one. How are you going to post the retainage?
We'd post a maintenance bond.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Has that been provided to the township yet?
No,
or-
I just got that list of, it was
Okay.
approximately $60,000 in Carol's estimate. And I'm assuming, I looked at the line items, but that's only the open space parcel up front, I believe.
Correct, that's only public improvements, so
Yeah.
improvements to Zieglerville Road, Schwenksville Road, or Schwenk Road, and the open space act.
Yeah, so we would be able to post that maintenance bond, with that estimate, no
So,
problem.
so if the board voted to move this into, accept dedication and move this into the maintenance period tonight, you'd be able to post it sometime this week?
Yeah, within a week, and it
Okay.
wouldn't, I would say it would be conditioned upon that. You can even make the 18-month maintenance period 10 days from now.
Okay.
However, yeah, and it would, if I didn't give it to you by that time,
Right.
then it wouldn't be effective.
Okay. Thank you.
Just so that I understand, you're going to give us the trees, or you're going to,
It's whatever you want. I would be able to work with Carol and your solicitor. We have the list of trees that we are about to plant. So it's pretty easy to come up with an estimate of what it would cost to purchase them, install them. And then we could give that estimate to your consultants, and they could agree or disagree or say, I think this is more reasonable. And so we could either give you the trees and you can install them, or we could just give you cash and allow the township to do with the tree, do with the money you want, however you want for the project,
okay,
or elsewhere in the township.
okay, so it's one or the other, okay.
Yeah.
Or the third option is you.
Oh, and the
or
third option is
you-
we
you
plant
Go ahead and
them.
plant them
Yeah, we
in
go
the
out,
development.
we plant them in the development in that open space area
Okay.
where they're supposed, where they were originally identified.
Does anybody have any comments or questions about these three options?
I do. So are we talking just about the trees for the township open space? Are we talking about the trees for the township open space and for the Arcadia Station development?
Well, for the HOA, I would suspect that I would go to the HOA and give them the same proposal if they want, or we would plant them and give the 90-day guarantee.
So the answer is, you're just talking about the three options for the township open space?
Right,
Okay.
just the township. I have, the HOA
You're
isn't here.
negotiating separately with the
Yeah.
HOA, okay.
Well, I haven't even brought this to them yet, but I would. There's no reason why I would do either or, the same options I'm providing to the township.
That might be best.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I think it would be.
Yeah. Terry, Chuck?
So the option that we were following going into this meeting was just to have the developer plant the trees, right?
Correct.
And now we're being given the option of either receiving the trees and us doing it.
Yeah,
or-
planting them wherever we want, yes.
But I'm assuming that if the developer is planting trees, does that mean that trees first need to be taken out so that these new trees can be planted? Are these replacement trees, or am I missing something?
I'll let Carol expand on it. There's a walk that happened last year over the HOA property and the township proposed open space. And they're marked trees. Some are there right now that are dead. Or they were dead last fall, we're assuming they're dead now. Some looked iffy, and I think a couple were just missing, maybe even, that were on the original development plan that still need to be planted. So it's a variation of types of trees.
I guess what I was just trying to understand is that if we went with the option where you gave us the trees, we would still need money to,
We would cover
Yeah,
whatever.
I get it.
Whatever to make the township whole, we would.
okay.
I'm not looking to do that. I just, again, it's up to you if you just want the cash, you would get the cash for that as well. You know, whatever it would be for us to do that and to make it convenient to the township. If you didn't want the trees right now, or you didn't know where you wanted to plant them, if there was another township open space.
Okay.
In the township open space, there are 2 trees that were identified as needing to be replaced, and 6 shrubs. And then the remaining 26 or 27 trees are HOA's rights list.
So we're only looking at 2 trees and a couple shrubs to be replaced.
They were identified last fall as needing to be replaced, 2 trees and 6 shrubs, all related to the open space area.
Okay. Okay.
But at the same time, those would be for the 18-month maintenance period, and we would obviously give you something towards that. Because, I mean, we hate it just as much as you do. We plant something, and then 18 months later, it's dead, and we plant it again. Or we plant it one season, and in another year, it's dead. I'm not looking to plant trees so they die. I would rather give you the money and figure it out, and you have it somewhere where you know it's going to be thriving at some point.
Carol, are these 2 trees and several bush shrubs in any location that's absolutely integral at this point? I mean,
Just 2 trees along Zieglerville Road and shrubs that were back closer to the edge of the field, defining sort of the difference between the field and the unkept areas.
okay.
I mean, for that small amount of plants, I'm okay with you doing it. I mean, you, the developer.
Okay.
I mean, we're 2 trees and half a dozen shrubs.
Do you guys have an opinion either way? Terry?
I think for the 2 trees and the shrubs, the developer replace them. Then it goes into the 18-month period. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to lean in that direction as well.
Go with those.
Yeah. And then you can work with the HOA. Okay.
You need a vote, or is consensus good enough?
No, you'll need to,
What about the other 27, right?
yeah, so you'll need a vote as far as dedication, accepting dedication moving the project into the maintenance period. And I think we need to add some language in regards to our trees versus the HOA trees. If you want, I can put something together based on your conversation.
So does that mean this changes now?
It does, because
Yeah.
we're, only just because of the trees. We'll probably, Carol, are you good with us planting these in the middle of April?
Yes.
All right, with their, so we wouldn't do any cash, we would just plant them.
Right.
In middle of April.
I don't want to delay anything, but if there's going to be changes, unless you can whip up a motion right now.
I mean, I could whip up a motion right now, but if you're more comfortable, I mean, I don't think it'd be a problem. We push this off. We have another meeting in a week.
In 1 week, that's fine.
Can you wait until next Tuesday?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Why don't, yeah, Gia and I and Carol, we'll get it all nailed down so you guys know exactly what you're voting for.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time.
No problem, thank you.
Gia, hopefully, Gia, you won't need to come next week.
That's
So,
fine, yeah.
Okay.
Might be exciting.
Okay, next on our list of items this evening is the Township Mailer, Hometown Press Newsletter Discussion. That's all you, Jason.
I moved it and it's. Okay, as the board may be aware, we've rolled out the new monthly township e-newsletter highlighting events and information. Another option I'd like the board to consider is a newsletter mailer. As a different communication option, I feel it would allow us to connect to our residents in a different way than what we're doing on Facebook and email currently. It is something we've done in the past, but apparently not in many years. Becky and I had a meeting with Greg Cook from Hometown Press. This is a mailer that is free to the township to have produced. This would be paid by local businesses and organizations who would advertise in the mailer. Hometown Press makes all the contacts and does all the work. We provide the content. Our only expense would be the cost of mailing and postage, which I would expect to be between $1,500 and $2,000 per mailing. He did recommend we do up to 2 mailers per year, which I think would either be a spring and fall or winter and summer newsletter, which I think would be very doable for us. If we were to do anything this year, it would be a fall newsletter, or this is something the board could discuss during the upcoming budget cycle. So what we have next, Steve, is the examples. Let me share for the public here. So this is what it's going to look like. And does appear to be, based on the samples that we got, there are several of our neighbors that are participating in this currently. So this is the kind of stuff that it would look like. And it'd be a paper mailer. So, any of our residents that aren't really online or via email, this would get delivered to. We'd have 2 ways to mail. We could either do a blanket mailing to all the parcels, or we could do a more nailed down based on an address list that would go to the individual homes. The challenge with that is, as much as we try to keep an updated address list, that can be changed depending on renters and stuff. Yeah, that's something we wanted to present to you guys just to kind of see if there was any interest from the board.
So I guess I'm going to go ahead first. So while these mailers look fabulous, I have a couple concerns about it. One of them is paper mailers are kind of 20th century. And I personally don't think we should be going in the direction of going backwards to an old form of communication that is going to cost us money and time. And my second concern is the timeliness. So if it only comes out twice a year, what can we put in it that's of value to our residents? I mean, if it came out every quarter, of course, that's going to be $8,000. And I guess that's my third concern is, you know, the number of residents who would want something in writing, couldn't we just print out our newsletter and put it in an envelope and mail it to them? I guess I'm struggling to find the value of this in terms of cost effectiveness, timeliness, and, you know, and another thing to come in the mail that is going to end up in the recycling bin.
Do they do this digitally?
We would have a digital so there would be we would have that available to us.
So there's a digital option that we could send out to the people that
We would have a digital, I don't know that there was a digital option. That really wasn't part of the, yeah, we have being that we have the e-news blast already, I don't know that, you know, that's kind of what we're doing some of this stuff with the e-news blast, but that's.
So I don't doubt visually, I would love to get an e-news blast that looked like this compared to what we're kind of getting right now. But I do tend to agree with Marla on kind of going backwards. And it doesn't seem like a whole lot of money, but it's another $3,000 or $4,000 a year to send something like this out twice a year. I'd be willing to maybe look at it in the next budget cycle, maybe, but would we be able to pick the content?
Yes, the content's all, we provide the
I don't know,
content.
do we have this much going on in Lower Fred?
I feel like we do.
Yeah,
So,
like-
so like, there'd be things that the regular stuff would be like the budget and say the events for the upcoming year. Like there's regular stuff that I think we have
So
that
that there is
we would
content
have
to put in,
regular
right?
content, and then it would be something of the nature of like, you know, hey, it's winter, you know, this is, recommendations for shoveling and winter, you know, there's different things that we could do that we're not currently doing to try to keep the, the content fresh. Certainly I know the concern that I would, is that it gets kind of stale and we're just regurgitating the same stuff every, and he recommended we wouldn't be tied to that. I mean, I know some in my past, I consider doing like a yearly mailer, kind of doing something in the beginning of the year when, that would have the budget, it would have different things in it, so it doesn't have to be twice a year. It could be as many times I think as we would like. So that's also something to kind of.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think if done correctly, a couple times a year, it's good, gets the information out, and then gives them all the contact information if they need additional information or help. I also noticed I have Lower Selfords and Traps in front of me. I see there's a Douglas Township. Yeah, so Lower Selford has a ton of advertisements and Trap doesn't. So I guess my only question would be, yeah, we'll have to pay for the mailing and it's not cheap. Is there an option that if we get enough advertisements that we don't pay for it, or it doesn't matter?
That the way they've got it set up is the advertisers pay for the printing and all that stuff, and that's where the municipality that's their chip in would be the mailing.
And are they the ones that do the outreach?
Yeah, they do everything. We provide the content. We don't set it up. We just basically, and I've done something similar to this where I actually had to set it up. It was a different company. But we provide the content and then they come back with kind of the draft and how they kind of intermix, the advertisements and stuff. Some of these are, kind of going through, you've got more kind of more wordy than pictures but like there's a lot of different ways you can go getting different bits of information out. So I just thought it was something different that I don't know that we've maybe looked at in a little while, so.
I mean, I think I think it's useful to have the information.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'd want to know if you send out 2,000 of these, how many are going to hold on to them? How many will just end up in the trash? I guess I'm just struggling, what's the best way to get information out to people? I don't know. I mean, I think some people come in, they go see the tax collector, having a stack of these in the, in the office would be great, in the lobby. People come in and grab one.
At one of my former stops, like we would bring them to any events we'd have. So we do get extra for that kind of consumption. Like I said, I don't disagree with the electronic part. I was kind of surprised how many municipalities are doing it currently, but I know a lot of it, some of your bigger municipalities, it's just another mechanism to communicate with the residents. So it's not, I don't know that it's as outdated as we think, maybe. I guess it was my impression with the amount of municipalities that are doing these.
There is a lot of good, really,
Yeah,
a really good info.
so Peter said they're advertising about 10 of their clients. So it seems to be a popular medium, and I think the price point is not, because I couldn't imagine what it would cost to print, do all this, from scratch. So I think that's kind of the bonus. And we're not spending the time, trying to figure out putting this all together like we were newspaper editors.
Are we obligated to put this out in print, or can we distribute it digitally with? I mean, I would assume you're not going to get advertisers unless they know this is going to be broadcast out to people. So
I
kind of agree with what Marla had said earlier about going back to paper.
Okay.
Just knowing the way that paper gets handled in our house. I think if it was digital, that would be great, and maybe a few paper copies around, but I don't know whether they would go with that.
we could have further conversation, or that's something we could look to maybe do in-house.
Right.
Something to that effect.
I don't know, I think I might want a little bit more time to think about this.
No, that's fine. Honestly, I just wanted to get it in front of you guys to kind of chew on, and
Yeah, and I guess my only concern is that it doesn't become overly burdensome for the staff to, I mean, you guys got a lot to do in the office.
a little bit.
Yeah, so that's always a concern, right?
And just looking at a couple of these, and I'm sure they all follow a very similar format, message from the chairman, message from the manager, maybe even take a look at a few of them and look at the 5-7 items, IN development, things like that we've talked about that are on our Facebook, or I'm sorry, on our website, and maybe try in the next couple months the newsletter in a similar format, that if we do decide to do this, it doesn't become another thing to do. You're already collecting that information, monthly, quarterly, whatever. If they have a good formula, you might as well borrow it.
Oh, for sure. You're always reappropriate. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not trailblazing.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Lauren, you have a question?
Warren Jacobs, Fulmer Road. Yeah, I was thinking about this as you were talking. I like the idea of getting old-fashioned mailers out to people. Just, anything you can do to get something in front of people. We have our newsletter. The last newsletter I thought was really great, but it only goes out to the people that we have the email lists for. So we're missing people. I'd like to see that newsletter not just go out on email, but be posted maybe on the website for a month or so after it gets done. You already did the work for it, just post it up there. Am I talking, is this on? Okay, good. Yeah. The other thing is with this newsletter, the only thing that makes it look really fancy is the advertisement. We're paying for the expensive part if we do this deal, which is the mailing. If we already have a newsletter, why don't we just fold it up and mail it out? And we don't need to deal with an advertising company.
We still have to print it and and put a stamp on it, which is what are stamps now, 70 cents or something?
Yeah.
I like the idea of putting it on our Facebook page, though, maybe with a link. I think that's a great idea. I mean, the MailChimp is opt-in, so anybody who wants it can get it, but they have to request it.
Katie?
I just turned it off. I just have a quick question.
Name and street.
Katie Lewis, Little Road. How would you know that it's successful? Like, how can you measure a mailer? Is there a way to do that?
That's a good question to ask the other townships.
Because like, if you do a couple, I would want to know how successful it is and if people are reading it, but I don't know how you can do that with a mailer.
Yeah. But
Other than local businesses that advertise come and say, yeah, it's working
keep
for us,
coming
or they
back.
start dropping their sponsorship, I guess. It's the only other way I could think of, but
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
well, it sounds like there's pluses and minuses to this. It's maybe worth looking at and considering and seeing where we fall on that. Okay. Are we ready to move on to the next item?
Yep.
Okay, request for proposal, contract mowing of township properties.
Okay, at the previous board meeting, I was directed to draft an RFP for contract mowing of township properties. Peter did provide me a template, and I have updated the draft accordingly. Most of the big packet is legal documents. What I had had the board looking at was the bid specification draft. This is where we define the guidelines regarding the township mowing. We did do the locations, and as far as the acreage, it's the acreage that would be mowed or maintained. It's not like the full acreage for whatever park or open space. So that was part of the fun of trying to get that approximate numbers. So, and I do have a location to add that was on the original. That was on the original one, which is, and this was my confusion. So with Arcadia Station going through, we would be maintaining the open space. I found that little nugget out today, so we would be adding, and that's roughly 2.2 acres. So as the board can see with the locations, we would be looking to do, now this is set up right now to do kind of the old school. I think we would be benefit from looking at doing it through pen bid. So that would just take a little bit of tweaking. I've already updated the advertisement. We would require anyone interested to come to a pre-bid meeting because we certainly have locations, especially in the open, like Cedar Hill open spaces, that we would certainly need to walk any contractors through so they have a clear understanding of what's being entailed, what the work entails. And that's something we normally do for any of our bids anyway. We try to do a pre-bid meeting if they've got questions or concern, but we would be taking a road trip to show them those locations. As we've talked about before, the board could consider doing piecemeal locations or doing the full amount of mowing. And this, just so the board is aware, this is our regular mowing, so this is not what we do, like we may do like Colonial Park once a year where we brush hog it. There's a large sewer easement that we own that goes into the back end of Cedar Hill that we brush hog. That's not something we're regularly mowing. So this is all just our normal regular mowing, and currently these locations are being done once a week.
Okay, so I had an opportunity to go out and attempt to visit all of these locations. And the one thing that I did note was, other than the parks, there's a lot of space over in the open, in the townhomes. was that I couldn't locate some of them based on just the address that was here. And we had touched on this, was having a map. It's okay to have the acreage, they can get an idea based on acreage, but like you go to Second Street Park, I don't know where Second Street Park begins and where Second Street Park ends in comparison to the neighbor next door. There would be no way for them to delineate what they would actually be doing.
So that, if we move forward with this, that would be a continuation as I was going through and the way that I was getting the acreage, using your map and stuff, I did realize that that those overheads for those areas would be beneficial, and that would be added to the proposal.
Right.
Yeah, I noticed this was in the draft agreement about the township providing guidance on how frequently to mow. I remember last summer, there were some weeks, I remember my yard in particular, I don't think it was cut more than 2 or 3 times, July and August. So I think we're expecting another drought this year. So that would mean, I mean, you don't want these guys coming every week, because I see some of my neighbors, they're cutting their grass every week. They like that nice short grass, but we don't want to do that. So
I think that's actually, didn't you address that in here?
it is in the agreement. I just think it's really important to also address it, as many times as you can address it, because we don't want these guys showing up every week if it's not raining.
No,
Because we're gonna-
that's all part of the managing of the
I
contract.
just want to emphasize that we're likely to see that again in July and August. We might not need to have any grass cut for 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Another thing for the board to consider also is whether you'd want to be looking to do like a year contract, 2 years, or a year contract and then have addenda where kind of the option, we'd have that option from year to year. That's why I kind of set it up that way. This was originally a 3-year agreement with 2 add-on years. I don't think we would be looking to go that long term, since this is something we've not tried before, but that's another thing for the board to consider is whether or not you want to go, look at doing a year or 2 years, or how you want to do that.
The same, that's been done. It's an option of possibly 2 years or 3 years, but after the first year, you could rebid it if you want.
Okay.
Township has the right to rebid. That way you're not stuck with it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You can stop it after the first year if you don't like it.
Turn on your microphone.
Rebid it.
Yeah, I agree with Terry, who said, if you didn't hear it on Zoom, that we have a multiple-year contract, but we have the option to not renew it after the first year, and we can rebid it. And I agree with that, because we just don't know what we're going to get. We don't know what direction we want to go in. We're trying this out. We've never done it before, so let's try it out, and we can reassess it after the season.
I concur.
No, I would definitely agree with that, for sure. So we're not tied in. Just to get some dates for the board to consider also, if we move forward with this, with the RFP, we would need to have it advertised twice. The hard dates would be, and that would be, we'd be looking to award this at the April 22nd meeting. So the first hard date is that all inquiries regarding the contract, or strike that, we would have to determine our pre-bid meeting, which would happen within the next week or two, or the first week of April. And then any inquiries would need to be submitted by April 10th. The bids would be opened and read aloud Thursday, April 17th at 6:30, trying to piggyback with our planning commission meeting, before planning commission meeting. And then we'd be looking to award the lowest bidder possible, or lowest responsible bidder at the April 22nd, 2025 meeting. That would be the fastest that we'd be able to get this together.
Okay, so back up. You said April 17th is Is the planning commission meeting?
So I just, because we're here, so that's when we would do the bid
A
opening.
special meeting.
Yeah, that's generally how, Carol, that's how we try to do it, is before a meeting, or as opposed to coming in like special during the day, since I'm normally here. And
So we are going through with Penn bid, not the,
yeah, I honestly, I think I think we're selling ourselves short if we don't get it out electronic, kind of back to the electronic aspect.
and this is a much faster process. Yes,
Uh,
than doing a regular RFP. I mean, wouldn't the regular RFP require 2 times the advertising?
It's still the advertisement's the same. It's not as much heavy lifting on the back end. Like, we would still have this posted on the website. We would have that, but everything would be directing them to go through Penn.
I
to
get the
Penn.
heavy lifting part with a regular RFP.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have a couple questions. I'm assuming you'll change the date in this draft, begin the first full week in April. Well, that's not going to.
Yeah, we would, obviously that would get,
Or begin as soon as practicable, or whatever. And also, the dates they're going to be doing it, work may be done any day of the week. All I can say is, in my neighborhood, if I hear people cutting their grass before 8 o'clock, I'm not really happy. But I don't know, I guess maybe not too many neighbors to some of these places, but do you want them to come out Saturday and Sunday?
it's weekday. It's not,
So you mean any day of the weekday?
we need to fix
Does-
the
and
language.
It says
Okay.
Yeah, you
work
just need
may
to
be
fix the
done
language,
Okay.
yeah.
any day of the
So that
week.
needs to be Monday through Friday. Time-wise, do you guys have a hard?
Well, do we have a lot of neighbors to some of these parks?
There's some locations that are in residential neighborhoods, yes.
So maybe,
I think we probably should match what we make the developers do.
8 o'clock.
which is 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that stood out to me on the
Okay, yep,
proposed contract, yeah. And I think that's on page 1, under section 2.
all right.
I mean, can we have an exception there in terms of the day that, I mean, you were talking about drought, but there could be a rainy period where these people can't get to it, and we want them to get to it. And, if the manager says, yeah, okay, you can do this on a Saturday, do we want to, or just,
I don't know if
think
I
you
don't
want
think
that
I have a problem
flexibility.
with them working any day of the week as long as it's after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I agree, because everyone else is out there cutting their grass anyway, so. Yeah, it's not like
If
some
you
of the
take
other
into
stuff.
consideration what Chuck brought up, that if they need to, they can't mow on Monday and Tuesday because it's raining out and they want to do catch-up, they can.
And I think what we'd be anticipating is, they'd be trying to knock us out in a day anyhow. Like, it's not, it's not going to take, it shouldn't take multiple days.
Right.
But, yeah, that looks, once again, it's up to you guys, how you want to. And I don't disagree. I mean, I've been out our way. I hear plenty of mowers on the weekend at all hours.
I think you should leave it, and you know what, if it's a problem, then we make an adjustment down the road.
Yeah, we can check, yeah, certainly the time.
Sure. Did you have a question?
Mary Schweikert, Schweik Road. Jason had mentioned 2 options. One of them was everything. The other one was a specific parcel. I wanted to throw out maybe an intermediate where you maybe say zones. We take the whole township and divide it into 2 or 3 zones, and we can decide that we want to wade in slowly and take one of those zones or 2 of those zones. Certainly, our most economic value will be for someone to take everything, but then it's a bigger decision to be made.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd had a very simple question. For the pen bid process, again, not being familiar with it, do we think that some people wouldn't bid on it because the pen bid process is, heavier for them, or I just don't know the process?
And I've had 2 landscapers reach out, and I've mentioned what we were expecting as far as going through Penn bid, and they didn't seem to be hesitant. I don't know if there's maybe smaller outfits, but, I think it's
So
kind
you
of.
don't think getting this out seems kind of late in the, not late in the season, but getting it out now is the beginning of the season, that we would have response back?
I posed that question because I talked to a landscaper, a local landscaper yesterday, and he goes, "Well, I guess you'll just see who really wants to work if a company's got their schedule booked up." So, we know we're a month probably behind. Ideally, we would have rolled this out in January, February, but I think getting it in April, we're not trying to do this in June. So I do think we could still get some bids in. I mean, I know that's part of this is to see also what this might cost us, because that's also one of the big unknowns that we're not sure.
And if we don't like the bids, we always can reject them.
Okay, but the bid will be broken out that it's by the week, we decide, and we will have to mow until we get someone mowing. Otherwise, the Easter egg hunt's going to be very difficult for the kids.
Yes.
I guess this question is for Carol. If someone comes in and says, hey, can't do it now, but maybe I can start on June 1st, is there any opportunity for like a different kind of bid? I mean, or is it all or nothing? That is, we want someone to say, I can do it every single
No.
week.
We have to provide everyone with a level playing field. So we can't have someone come in and make a change to our bid specs that no one else knows of. Someone can,
I guess
when the bids go out, there is an amendment process. So someone could come in and say, hey, we would love to bid on it, but we're not going to have availability to June 1st, in which case we might say, okay, fine, we'll change our bid specs to state it starts June 1st, but we can't have someone just do that arbitrarily and independently. That would make their bid unresponsive. We'd have to throw it out.
I guess what I'm thinking of is if this is not going to get out until April 17th, we may have some companies out there that may have to scramble a little bit to be able to do this. So it may reduce the ability of people to bid. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. Maybe I articulated it poorly. So if we do have some folks that come back and say, hey, I want to bid on this, but I can't do it now, I can do it in 2 weeks or something. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
So, one of the advantages of NBID is that all the questions of the contract have to come in through NBID in writing. So if the contractor has that question, is there any chance we could start June 1st instead of April 20th? That kind of question can be asked publicly. It can be evaluated in-house how you want to deal with that, and then it can be answered in the form of an addendum if you're going to make a change to the contract. So, I have often found with contracts, especially a new kind of contract, the kind of questions that contractors ask you can be very enlightening, and can inform the bid. So, I hope that's a useful perspective, that if we're getting that from multiple bidders, we would likely have a conversation in-house and deal with it in the contract.
Thank you.
Each one of these locations, are they gonna be bidded separately?
No, the way it's set up is to bid it all in one.
Bad. Only because if you do have dry weather, they're gonna expect to be paid for the whole year. If it's weekly, and you call them and tell them, don't mow because it's dry, or we didn't get any rain and it didn't grow, you can save money on that. That's the way it's set up with us right now. If we call them and tell them we had a dry weather for 3 weeks, we tell them, don't mow. You don't get charged for it. Here, they're gonna figure on a whole lump sum. They're bidding everything for 1 year.
Yeah, the way, Terry, the way it's set up, they put in a unit price, basically, it's a weekly mow for each area.
That's what I asked.
Yeah. Yeah, they put in a weekly price, and so, yeah, if we tell them, yeah, don't mow that area this week, it's too
That's
dry,
right.
it's too wet, they don't get paid for it. They,
It was for
every,
weekly for every.
yeah.
Yes.
So they go mow for a week, they send us a report of everything they mowed for that week. And then based on those reports, we send out a monthly bill to them. So if they send a report in, we didn't mow anywhere last week, it's too dry, because we told them, don't mow anywhere, they don't get paid for that week.
Okay. Just wanna make sure.
So I guess the only question I have is, so we received feedback from the park board, mowing adjustments, and I don't know whether they need to go into this document or whether these are things that we can make once we get somebody on board and say, yeah, we want the grass to be cut higher. I mean, so every item on this list, every parcel, it says once a week. But, obviously, there's some parks that are, like the Memorial one where nobody ever goes. Does that really need to be done once a week in a park that you're just driving by and nobody ever gets out of their car except the people who maintain the park? Maybe that, if there are parcels where we know we don't want it done every week, is it gonna be a problem if, once we get a contractor in here to say, you know what, we only really want this done every other week? Is that gonna be a problem? I guess this is a Peter question. Is that a problem because we're asking for weekly quotes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I think the way the contract currently is written, our contractor could, object and complain, but the contract is basically written that if we tell them don't mow a certain parcel that week, they're not mowing that. And we don't have to give a reason why not to mow it. That being said, if and when we then rebid this out, I would then at that point change it for those particular parcels to say, yeah, you're only mowing it every other week, to make it a little more fair. But yeah, currently as it's written, we could tell them, no, we don't need this mowed every week. Every other week, please, just skip it.
And I assume, like for Foy Park, you have it listed at 2.08 acres. I assume that is the acreage where we have sort of active recreation going on and picnicking, right?
Yeah, so on the overhead, you can tell where we've kind of had the naturalized areas or the areas that have not been, and that's where I tried to approximate that acreage for where we're actually mowing and maintaining.
And, for Second Street Park, if nobody's using it,
I
That's-
don't see any reason to
Yeah,
mow
that's-
that every week.
Yeah, that's one of the, it's got a sewer easement on it, so I think that's one of the things, especially now that we have this information, I think, we can probably look at this a little differently than maybe the way it's been done if, and that's just one of those things if, we go around and kind of go, you know what, we're okay not, and kind of give that blessing.
yeah, just, even the park down here, when I've gone down there during the summer, don't let the grass go up knee high, but, it'll be like this tall or so. And
Yeah.
that's fine by me for the usage that it gets.
I think that'll be certainly one of the challenges rolling this out and seeing how that works out, having, if we have a third party doing this and kind of where we're reassessing maybe that, what you're what you're talking about.
Do you think maybe Tommy or RJ could speak to which of these locations most likely wouldn't need to be mowed every single week? Okay. Diane, did you have a question?
Tommy, I'm sorry that you get complaints from people, but they gotta learn that they don't need their grass mowed down to the earth. And this is a good way to show how
our fields and yards can be managed. And that's what I hear you talking about, that currently, people mow their grass every week, whether it needs it or not. And that's not really good for our environment. It sounds like you guys are starting to make a really nice list of where in the township you want things to go more natural and where you want them to be where people won't get ticks and, can play in the grass and so forth. So it sounds like management in the beginning and then documentation about it so everybody's clear and the people you get to mow do a really nice job that benefits everybody. Thank you.
I mean, to your question, Noel, if you want us to take a look at this and be maybe more realistic and kind of go complaints aside.
Yes, complaints aside.
So I think if you want, we can go and I'll make the command decision and just be like, let's be realistic. Generally, I'm going to get the call.
If it's
Anyhow,
someplace
so-
where there's people all the time and it's getting used, yeah, you're going to do it every week. If these are the off to the wayside places that aren't getting foot traffic,
Yeah.
a
So
little bit of common sense.
I think we can pull that together before we physically roll the document out.
Okay. Becky, do you have a comment or a question?
I would also just like to keep in mind with naturalization, kind of working with the codes department. We do need to keep in mind that if we don't have someone monitoring these places as often, I would hate for the township to set the example of this grass is,
I don't think it's going to grow 12 inches. I know.
you know what I'm saying? Like, if
Yes.
we're not monitoring it as often, I just don't want the township to be, the township does it,
Thank you, Becky. Yeah. Well, the one thing I can say is, yes, we have now compiled a very comprehensive list of all of our parks, our open spaces, and within the body of the park board's feedback, specifically, I'd like to point to Foy Park. They did the flood resiliency plan, which I would love to see that actually become memorialized by resolution and put in place as a management plan going forward, and that be used, and get a management plan for all the parks, and get it in writing. And an aside, completely different from this RFP.
So is Arcadia added to this year's or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that'd be number 20.
Yes.
All right, how do we move forward? I'm out of questions.
So I'm assuming the next thing to happen here is, will we have this on the agenda to next week or,
If you guys give us authorization, because I guess short of changing, reassessing how often we're mowing some of these locations, I think anything else it's not wholesale changes. If you're okay with what you're seeing and the board wants to go, full Monty as far as our locations, certainly when we get the updated list, we can send that, we can give that to the board, but it's up to you guys if you don't
well,
want to.
my next question was, can we make a pre-bid meeting mandatory?
Yes.
And would it be at that time that you would let them know about, these are the locations that aren't going to get mowed every single time? Or is that something that needs to be,
Yes.
is that when that would actually happen? So if we pull the trigger to get the advertising done, let's say now, or next Tuesday, what do you suggest? Sooner than later?
I think sooner would be better. It gives us some flexibility, especially since, we've got a task now as far as kind of nailing down. So unless you guys feel like you want to weigh on it more for another week, I think let's move forward and
Let's
get
just
this
do it.
out there. Yeah, we need to, as Peter's saying, we need to tweak the link, but it's not.
So you're going to change, sorry, so it'll be any day, hello?
Sorry.
So it'll be any day of the week starting at 8. So that is one change you're going to make.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you'll work on the frequency places?
Yeah, that, we'll try to hop on that. I obviously got to check with the guys to see what we're looking like this week. Or that may not happen till next Monday. I've got another meeting that I'm going to have to be preparing for coming up.
So what would the resolution be?
Yeah, that's, yeah, we don't have a recommended resolution.
The board authorizes staff to finalize and advertise the mowing bid packet as presented to the board at the meeting.
Can I get a motion?
With the changes discussed.
With the changes. Can I get a motion?
Also move.
Can I get a second?
Chuck Yiser will second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, next on our agenda is the Township Parks sign quotes.
So last summer, Tommy asked me if I would take a look at a couple of our park signs and their condition. He had noticed how degraded a few of our park signs were or are, especially Coble and Foy Park to an extent. Another thing we noticed is that the signs are different and we don't have them at all of our parks. So another task we did last summer was get our parks addresses, or we got addresses for the main parks that didn't have one, which helps guide emergency services if something should happen at the park. We did take this on as an administrative task, and we worked through designing and working with State of Mind for the template on the quote. And we would also be looking at new posts, which for hardware and stuff, we were approximating that cost at about $850. We would be, if we could reuse any posts, but we would be looking probably for most of the signs getting new posts. Let me share what the signs look like here. All right, let me share this.
I just have one question. A couple of these signs have other things on them, like the current Foy Park sign talks about the funding. Would we keep that? Or
So the funding, and actually, I'm glad you asked
like a
that. So
sub-sign.
we would have to note that, and what we did get from Kevin from State of Mind is they would actually do those signs for us for free
That's great.
as an add-on. So like Colonial Sign has an open space kind of logo, and then the other parks where they were funded by whatever entity. So we would add those to these signs. So as you can see, we wanted to make them consistent so that our residents know this is a township park. So I think
He'll do the signs for free that say, "In memory of firefighter Thomas F." Jr.?
that we've added, that's actually, I know it may be a little hard to see. We have those, we have with the dedication on the signs themselves. What they'd be adding was like,
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, so
They're
like-
going to put more language on these.
so like Foy
Okay.
Park it mentions where the funding came from.
Right.
And then, like I say, in Colonial Park, that was the county open space. So we would have to add some type of, we would add that on that sign post somewhere.
Understood.
So what we were looking at, obviously, we have the 4 main parks. And then we also have the Second Avenue Park, which was mentioned earlier. The Cedar Hill Park, which I can say honestly, as a resident, I had no idea that was actually township owned till I started working here. Because you just kind of assume it belongs to the neighborhood, and it doesn't. So it is one of those things that, if people are aware, they've got a basketball court, they've got things there that, that it is for public usage. And then The sign that says Township Park, that's actually for the sign behind here. So what we considered with having signs is we have park rules signs that we did last year. So where we have park rules, that's where we kind of thought about adding signs to those places that don't currently have anything.
Do we need a sign at the Arcadia Station open space?
Is it a park?
Yeah, that's just an open space. Yeah, we try to keep them to the parks.
Well, what's behind this building?
It's like a park,
It's a pocket park. It's like second hand.
yeah.
That's up to the, have you ever been back there? It's nice.
Lorraine's name is spelled wrong in the proof.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Lorraine's name's spelled wrong in the proof. We wouldn't want to mess that up.
We can always add it.
Yes.
Always add it later if we want.
So the Second Avenue Park is this small little, and there's a sign there now?
No, but we have a park rules sign. No, we have a park rules sign there.
Okay. Are we hoping people visit there, or?
Well, apparently there are people
Okay. And then the area at Arcadia, did we just say that?
that's what
That's what-
Marla
yeah,
was
okay,
asking
sorry.
about.
Thank you.
Is there a reason why we don't want to give open space a name?
We good. I have no,
mean,
that's,
that way-
that's up to you guys.
People will have a better idea that it's for everybody to use. I'm not sure how well that's been broadcast.
I would agree, that's,
I don't know.
if you're looking at kind of the philosophy we're trying to bring to this is, I think it's to let people know that these are places that they can go to and use.
Well,
So-
that brings up a good point, Chuck. I guess after we get dedication of it, we can start thinking about maybe naming it and getting a sign on it.
Instead of open space A.
Undercover.
Right. Warren?
So our note taker's not here tonight, so please say your name and address.
Oh, you don't remember from the last time? Warren Jacobs, Fulmer Road. My question is, are these signs double-sided? I would really
Currently,
like
no.
to see them be double-sided, and I'll tell you why. When we put the one up on Colonial Park, I requested that it be double-sided, and everybody knows where Colonial Park is, because when you're driving down the road, no matter which direction you're going from, you see the sign and it says Colonial Park. If you drive past Cuddy Park, you probably don't even see that there's a sign. If that sign was situated in such a way as that it faced both ways down the street, everybody'd know where Cuddy Park is. Same applies for all the other parks. Colonial Park, I think, is the park that most people know the name of.
Yeah, I certainly think that application would fit with Coble. Any ones I think that are on main roads, like certainly like our Township Park back here, well, you're walking towards it, or maybe even the Second Street Park, but I would agree, I think, and we did talk about the double sign. Yes, Becky.
I just have two very quick notes. One, Admin Becky, Goshen Road. Two notes. So we did ask to them to be double-sided, but with the way they are currently designed, it may be hard to do that. So I guess it would be more of a question of, do we change the design, or do we just pivot the signs? So for example, at Cuddy, you just pivot it where you can maybe see it slightly better. I'm not married to either.
What is it about the sign?
I think it's like
Is it that,
see how it goes up a little bit?
yeah?
So,
It's
I
not
mean,
a
it's a question to
rectangle.
ask them, but
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I
We
can
were
ask
trying
them.
to be unique, but not over the top.
Yeah.
unique.
I mean, if you just made it square instead of whatever that is, a trapezoid, then the tree could get enclosed. I don't know.
Yeah, I can ask. Second thing, to Chuck's point with the open space, I think what Jason and I were trying to do with these were to kind of make it known that this is a park. So maybe something for open space, since it is technically different, would be to maybe make it unique to open space. We could change the little pin drop to a tree or something like that and have it say, as you said, Arcadia open space or something like that, make it a different color, just so it's notated that it's not a park.
Food for thought.
Just a thought.
Pam?
Pam Reich, Park Board. Kind of mimicking what Warren was saying, I would recommend that we do them perpendicular to the road. Right now, they're parallel to the road, and they're very difficult to see driving by. And they're kind of, they're not very visible to begin with, but they're really not, it's difficult to see. You have to really crane your neck to look at them. And if we really want them to be noticed, and we want to draw attention to our parks, they should be perpendicular to the road and double-sided.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Sherry?
Sherry Schweikert, Schwank Road. We've had a lot of good ideas thrown out here, and I wonder if there's value in letting the Park and Rec Board look at this before we move forward.
Actually, that was my question as well, in the sense that it's coming out of the Park and Rec Board's budget. Is this a priority expenditure? That was really my fundamental question. Right? Am I misunderstanding things? But you did point out where in the budget we had funds that could be applied toward this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, it seems reasonable that the park board should weigh in on it. Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Fair enough. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on these? Is there anybody on Zoom? Jason?
I just want to say this is a great idea, so whatever it ends up looking like, thanks to everyone who's working on it.
Yep. Okay, next on our agenda, Public Works request, Connex fence at Public Works facility discussion.
Okay, as the board may recall, this was tabled at the March 4th meeting to allow the board time to review the information. When connexes were brought up during last year's budget discussion, Tom and RJ started looking at how they might be able to use these as a permanent storage option at our Public Works location. The Public Works Department storage plan, the Public Works Department has come up with a temporary solution for storage at the shop located at Two Little Road. We have two estimates for having the fence. So this location, let me. So this is the location that we were looking at. And I did confirm, because Parcel Viewer now does show this, as part of the two-lot subdivision, when we had to do like I guess essentially like a land swap, or this outline of that parcel is what the current property line is. So we would have that room to put these connexes in there. Okay, let me continue with their storage plan here. Okay, so we've received two estimates for having the fence between the salt shed and outdoor storage building and the walking trail of Cobra Park replaced with chain link fence with privacy slots. Note the current wood fencing that is in place is rotten, is currently falling over. Also included in the pricing is a purchase of a 40-foot shipping container and a 20-foot shipping container to place directly between the outbuilding and the new fence near the walking trail of Cobble Park. The purchase of the 20-foot container would be replacing the current container that the township has rented since 2021. Also behind the containers, we would store all of our storm piping and other equipment. In the 40-foot container, we'd be storing the mowers, compact tractor, weed trimmers, and blowers. In the 20-foot container, we plan to store cones, barricades, and signage for road closures or work. Having this extra storage would create room inside the shop area for the public works to build stairs and a railing that are up to code to the loft, and more room for any storage of street and road signage. They would also like to paint the containers once they're acquired. What you have in front of you is two fence quotes and a quotes from the location where we're actually currently renting the trailers, or their current Connex now. I noted that we've been renting a 20-foot Connex since November 21st at $135 per month, and that total is now $5,130. This has been the primary storage for the mowers. And as stated, they would like to purchase these for permanent storage. This is not something that's in the budget. So certainly, this wouldn't necessarily need to be a now thing. This certainly could be rediscussed during the next budget cycle, or however the board wants to view it. Certainly, the fence is not a small cost. The connexes themselves, a 20-foot used was $2,000. A 20-foot new was $3,750. A 40-foot used container was was $2,995. A 40-foot new would be $4,995. So there's varying costs depending on which Connex we'd be looking to purchase.
Is it safe to assume that you would prefer one with a roll door?
So the one that you've been renting, then you would return that? Yes. Okay, so we have been paying for this, we're just paying for it over time rather than at once, so my sense is this is something that's important, that's needed. We can pay for it now, we can pay for it later, we can pay for it monthly, but we've already paid $5,000 for 3+ years, and what's the lifespan of these? Like 20 years? Pardon?
Maintenance, it'll live forever.
So we're better off just probably, I mean, this is my opinion, we're probably better off just purchasing it and owning it rather than renting it and then having nothing to show for it.
Is that what you have now?
That's what we have now, is a 20-footer.
Okay.
It only fit the walk-behind mower and 2 of the 6-footers. The other mowers are stuck in the headworks going up to the sewer plant over the winter. But, so the 40-footer that we're looking to try to get would be able to store our 870 John Deere tractor that we have and all of our mowers into the 40-footer. So the 40-footer would essentially be replacing the 20-footer for its purpose right now, but
So for the 20-footer, that's, right, because you're looking at a 20-footer and a 40-footer, would they just leave the existing 20-footer with us, or no, we want to swap that out for a new one? Right, okay.
talking to, we went through TP trailers, and that's where we
Yeah.
rented this one from. They would have to come pick that one up just because it is a rental. And then they would be bringing it, whichever we were for, purchase.
If you're renting one from TP, they will not let you buy that.
Okay.
They make you take it back and they sell you another one.
Hi, Jerry.
So- okay.
Lori Schweikert. So maybe I'm keying in on the word mower, but I wonder how the conversation we just had about the proposal to have mowing being done by a third party would affect our long-term need for storage of this equipment.
Thank you.
So a couple questions so we have in front of us some fencing and from storage containers. So to break those up, the fencing, is it just the area we're showing here, or is it the existing that's already the gates on either ends of the buildings that we're talking about?
Would one of you guys come up and explain that for Terry, please?
So the fencing that both quotes are from is just strictly off of the corner of our storage shed / salt bin. There would be an 8-foot double swing gate off of, which would be getting attached to the current fencing. And it would come out approximately 12 feet, I think it was, and then be going straight back to the existing fence for the property line. It's essentially just replacing
That
the
wooden
wood
thing.
fence that's there now, which is falling apart as it is, so.
Right, okay.
So where the porta potty is the 8-foot gate?
Yes, yeah,
then
there would be a double swing gate there. And then about 3/4 of the way down the side, there would be, in the quote, is a 14-foot double swing gate opening also, so that we could, it would be a lot easier. We could store all of our storm piping and stuff like that we have. It would be a lot easier. It'd be the only way to get it in and out of the back, to store it back there and not right in our yard where we have,
I was wondering how you were going to get in and out of that.
yeah. So there's a second gate opening.
So you'd put the 40-foot behind. Where would you put the 20-foot, where the other one is now?
So the 40-foot would be from the very bottom corner by the porta potty also. It would be tight to the building, and then a 20-footer would be alongside of it. And they would both fit in between. If we put the fencing tight to the walking trail, we would be able to fit both boxes in there without obstructing the walking trail.
The yellow lines that are on here, are that line changes?
Yeah, those are the current property lines.
Right. So, but the yellow lines that are here, is that accurate, the one that cuts down over the trail?
Yeah.
And what about the other one that runs along the other side there, like right next to the salt shed? The one. Is that the lot line with the neighbors? Is it that close to the salt shed?
Yeah.
Oh, I can see it up here, yeah.
So currently you have pipes and other miscellaneous stuff stored back there?
There's some miscellaneous stuff. There's no piping back there right now, only because we can't,
Get to it.
we wouldn't be able to get to it, yeah, right now.
So you're currently not using the park to enter that area?
No.
Just around the building?
Right.
Okay.
So I know we've sort of focused on mowers and pipes here, but there's an important piece. Some of this storage is going to be used to improve the conditions inside the shop, which are not safe. We get reports every year from the insurance company that talk about things inside that shop that need to be improved. And, you know, I feel strongly that we should probably do the right thing and make sure that we can improve those conditions, because I don't hear anybody talking about us getting a new shop anytime soon. But, you know, there are stairs that are not safe and other things that are not safe because it's loaded full of stuff. So, you know, I don't have a problem making the space for some of the things that we need to make space for.
So just to clarify, you're asking for the three things: the fence, which will replace the wooden fence that's no good anymore, a 20-foot container to replace the one you currently have that is being rented, and in addition, a 40-foot container.
Yep.
And there's space for all of those, the two containers, okay.
What would you say the condition of your other two operating gates are currently?
I mean, they work.
They work good enough, okay. Yeah. I mean, they look old.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so,
97? Okay. I got you, okay. Yeah, I mean, the only, again, not trying to redesign since you guys already went through this work, but the one idea is you already have things stored over here at the sewer plant. I didn't know if there's more room there. You would have to bring the equipment there once a year, bring it back. You probably want all your stuff the same place, I understand that. But just looking at the plan and being familiar with the park, if you're allowed to put something beside the building where the gate, the fence is now and the porta potty, and incorporate that into a fence, and put the money in fencing and a brand new gate you use every single day versus the thing you use 3, 4, 10 times a year. Just an idea. You have about 35 feet on the salt shed to put something beside it with the opening into your yard right now. Again, you guys know it better than we do.
yeah, I mean, between the salt on the,
On the
on like
parking
the
lot side.
the north side of it, right now, there's, it's probably roughly 9 feet wide.
No, I actually meant the parking
And then
lot side.
The parking lot side is maybe only 4 feet wide between the building and the current fence that's there now.
Yeah.
and the
Right, I
gate,
mean,
so, but-
you'd eliminate that because the shed would be, or I'm sorry, the building, whatever this thing is, the container would be up to the edge of the fencing.
The way the way we were planning was to have it right lined up with the corner of the building. So there'd probably, like if we, like there would still be the space between the building and the fence as there is now between the front of the storage container and the new fence, to say.
I'm sorry, my just crazy idea was do nothing behind the building.
Right,
Put your 40-foot beside the salt shed,
right, and
between the porta potty and the gate opening, current. Yeah, and then spend your money on a new fence of the gate you use every single day.
right,
And maybe even get rid of everything behind the building and just do a little section of fence from the corner to the neighboring property.
right.
Again, I don't know what's there, or what your needs are.
Possibility too, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not,
We're trying to get stuff out of the yard in the back of it.
mhm.
We've got room to get around those trucks for salt.
Yeah, because right
Okay.
now, like, in the picture, right in front of the salt shed, you can see there's a dump truck in the picture here, like, right behind that whole area, we have all of our storm piping piled up right now, and we can't even, if we wanted to get the skid steer around the side of the building, because that's the only thing that will really fit, like, we can't even get it back there right now because of all the storm piping that we do have stored there, because we don't really have anywhere else to put it, so.
Gotcha. I mean, again, I agree with what Chuck said. We have to get some items off our list. It was just to put a lot of money into brand new, nice things that work well for the things you're not going to use often.
Right.
Just to see if there's ways to reconfigure it.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was stated, just because I don't remember hearing it, but the reason to buy a 20-foot box with the 40-footer is for all of our, like, road barricades and, like, road closed signs and stuff like that. That would all go into that 20-footer, and that would free up a lot of space where, in our shop area, where we do have that stuff all stored.
Mowers aside, you could still use that for storage for a bunch of other things as well.
Absolutely.
It's storage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to say also something that, if we can get some of that equipment out of the- can anyone hear me? Okay, all right. If we can get some of that material out of the elements, they'll last longer, and that's a cost savings too.
Okay. Does anybody have any other comments, any other questions?
Is this a discussion today? We're going to make a decision next week? Is that the plan?
It's a discussion.
Yeah, it's just a discussion.
Okay.
And I think that maybe I'd like to go over and visit the Public Works Building, have you guys show anybody else that wants to come along exactly what you want to do over there. And would like to see what your idea sounded like a reuse of the space, like a better use of the space, get more, make every nickel scream so you get what you need.
Is this something to table for a later date? Give it some time for that
Yeah.
to happen?
Yeah, I'd like to digest this so that we get it right, they get what they need.
Okay. Do you guys have any thoughts when you'd want to hear it again, or? Any thoughts on when you'd want to be represented the information, I guess, as far as,
I think Noel's idea of a field trip is great. We did that in the police station, and that was very useful. So maybe we can do that and revisit this at a work session.
like the May meeting or the April works? I'm just,
At the
just to
April
put
meeting?
kind of a
April
expectation.
work session?
April work session, okay.
Okay, to make a decision
Okay.
thereafter?
Would an hour be long enough? You guys
Yeah,
think?
I think so.
I mean, if we just. I meant, like, let's say we go over there before a meeting, right?
Go over,
Right.
I'm sorry, when?
I'm just suggesting that you go over there like before the meeting, like at 6 o'clock we have a meeting at 7, right? Or 5:30.
Next Tuesday?
That's fine.
Can you do next Tuesday? Can we all go? Oh. Artisan?
Oh. Pick a different night.
Pick a different night.
Let's do this separately.
Yeah.
We'll figure this out.
Thank you, RJ.
Thank you, RJ. And last item on our list for this evening is Park and Rec request. Fire police from Upper Frederick, Upper Salford, and Perkiomen Township.
So the board previously authorized the use of Lower Frederick's Fire Police for the 2025 Park and Rec events. As the egg hunt is held at Coble Park and traffic and parking can be very difficult because of the location, we were asked to reach out to our neighboring fire companies for additional fire support, assistance at this year's egg hunt. I put this on this agenda to kind of get out ahead of the other municipalities' meetings, since that's where we would be sending the request to. So that's why it's on this agenda. So we would be sending it to, as Noel said, Upper Frederick, Upper Salford, and Perkiomen Township fire company, or those municipalities, to ask if they would authorize use of their fire police for our event.
I have no outward objection to this. I don't suppose anybody else would. Okay, so the recommended motion is move to authorize the township to send out requests to Upper Frederick, Upper Salford, and Perkiomen Township Fire Companies for fire police for the 2025 Park and Rec Egg Hunt to be held on Saturday, April 19th. Can I get a motion? I will make the motion.
I will second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Okay. Is there any public comment? Ernie?
Yes, I'd like to, first of all, it's Ernie Schmidt from Silverbrook Drive. I'd like to talk about the change in polling locations. Before I get started, again, I'd like to thank Chuck Yiser, as I had previously, for the help he gave me with the email he provided me with the law concerning the changing of voting locations. In early December 24, I made contact with Frank Dean, Director of Elections, Voter Services, Montgomery County, and Justice Everett, Poll Location Coordinator, Voter Services, Montgomery County. Justin Everett became my lead contact due to the fact he has the sole responsibility of meeting with contacts within voting districts to coordinate the placement of polling locations. What we're planning on doing is, and he agrees with me, and he's made the contacts. He has said that it's possible it could happen in this May election period If not, it would happen in November. What has happened with contacting them is it's very hard to contact to get them into to pinpoint what they're planning because they have to make these contacts. He has told me that he has made the contact with PV School District, and the locations we're planning on doing is moving from Area 1, which is the fire company on Spring Mount Road, to this building here in Area 2. And then Area 2 would move up to the middle school west. And he's made contact with PV School District, and they're amenable to that change. He is still fine-tuning this, and that's the information I have currently. In any case, if anybody has any questions, you can ask them now.
I have a question. How will voters be contacted to let them know about the change?
He says that they'll set that all up. You know, I have his promise on that, and he's done this many times.
Did they discuss at all having a third precinct? I think we were over the number of allowed voters per precinct.
He contends that the way the numbers are set up now, the Area 2 will be covered by what the Perkiomen Valley Middle School has in that area. I realize we have the most amount of growth in Area 2, and Area 1 has very limited growth because of the area, the way it's built out.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought, if I remember reading, you know, there's only the maximum amount of
Right.
voters per precinct, so
Right.
you might have to have a third one to try to if you were trying to comply with the law.
But they have the most amount of parking facility
Oh,
and
yeah.
the most amount of area up there.
Oh, no, that's-
So they could actually probably, and we had a little bit of discussion on that, they could possibly put two areas up there.
That would make sense, yeah.
So that has been something that's been asked.
So it's the middle school that's up here on 73,
Yes,
right past Piece of Zion?
right.
Perfect.
That's within Area 2.
Thank you, Ernie. I appreciate you
Okay.
taking that mantle up and running with it.
Pardon me?
Thank you for doing that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Do you need signatures?
Pardon me?
Do you have to do a petition or any? Do you have to do a
No, as
petition
far
or
as I
no?
know, if there's anything else that has to be done, he'll get back in touch with me.
Okay.
And you'll
Okay.
keep us posted.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
I hope it works for this May. It'd be good to learn in the primary for the general.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Anyone on Zoom? Are there any supervisor comments?
I have one. Yep, just more of a announcement. A couple weeks ago, the farm, 8 Sep Road was finally, they closed, which means it's preserved, the agricultural preservation. So it's been 3 years in the process. A lot of cooperation from the county ag board, the farm board, and the landowners, so they get the most credit. Also our open space, the board of supervisors here for the donation, then the state and the county funding. So good news is 37 acres in our township preserved forever, and hopefully there will be more to come. Thank you.
And I just want to add to that while this farm received money from the township, there have been several other farms in Lower Frederick that have also been preserved in recent years. So let's not forget about those as well.
All right, not seeing any more public comments or supervisor comments. This meeting is adjourned.